All right, guys, we are on chapter 7 of Who Was Walt Disney. All right, so this chapter is called Ups and Downs. So if you remember from yesterday, we just found out that he created the Mickey Mouse character along with the Mickey Mouse Clubhouse and all the different things that you could buy, things like that. All right, ups and downs. Walt Disney was on top of the world when trouble hit the studio again. A dishonest distributor wanted control of Mickey Mouse. Walt had lost Oswald. He was not going to let Mickey get away. Roy worked out a deal so that Disney kept ownership of Mickey. The distributor, however, did manage to hire away Oob Iwerks. Why did Oob Iwerks leave? Oob said that Walt always was complaining about the work that he did, and Walt liked to take all the credit for Disney cartoons. According to Oob, Walt couldn't even draw a proper Mickey Mouse. One time, a boy begged Walt for a drawing of Mickey with Walt's autograph. Walt asked Oob to draw it, and then Walt would sign it. Oob got so mad that he told Walt to draw it himself and stomped off. Losing Oob was hard. Walt was angry and hurt, but he hired new animators to join his team. They quickly realized that Walt was the most important man in the studio, even if he didn't do the drawings. He chose what cartoons to make. He worked on the story development and artwork. He made all the final decisions. If the new animators didn't like it, they all had to keep quiet or quit. In the early 1930s, Walt Disney Studios produced many short cartoons called Silly Symphonies. As always, Walt wanted to do something new. The Three Little Pigs had much more of a plot. The story of the pigs and the hungry wolf came from the Green Fairy book by Andrew Lang. It was Walt's idea to put it in a song. It was called Who's Afraid of the Big Bad Wolf? People came out to the theaters whistling the peppy tune. The song seemed to cheer people up. The Three Little Pigs came out in 1933. Many people needed cheering up. It was a time called the Great Depression. Thousands of companies had gone out of business. Millions of workers lost their jobs. People lost their homes. Fewer families had money to spend on extra things like going to the movie theaters. All right, and I'm going to read this little part about the Great Depression. In the 1920s, many Americans bought and sold stocks, which is called shares of companies. Some people became rich from trading on the stock market, but in 1929, many of these stocks became worthless and the stock market crashed. Banks closed. Millions of people lost their jobs. Because of unemployment, people had little money for homes, cars, or food. They'd stand for hours in line to receive basics like a loaf of bread. The Great Depression ended in the early 1940s. But Walt Disney Studios was doing fine. By 1930, a company called Technicolor was producing good color film for movies. Walt is said to have shouted, "At last, we can show a rainbow on the screen." Walt's Flowers and Trees was about two trees who fall in love, was the first cartoon in full color. It won an Academy Award. Has anyone seen that? I don't think I have, so if you've seen that, message me, I want to know. Everyone at Disney worked long hours, but nobody worked harder than Walt. He drove himself to the point of collapse. He was exhausted and more moody than ever. He was also upset because he and Lillian were having trouble having children. Walt worried that he might never be a father. He couldn't sleep at night, and he often cried. He became so sick that his doctor insisted he take a long vacation to recover from the stress. In the fall of 1931, Walt and Lillian took a train across the country to Washington, D.C. Being on a train was always relaxing and fun for Walt. They took a boat trip through the Panama Canal. He and Lillian lounged on deck chairs and had romantic dinner. When the Disneys returned home, Walt took up sports to ease stress: ice skating, swimming, horseback riding, and polo. In 1933, Lillian became pregnant. Walt was thrilled. He wrote his family about all of the pink and blue baby items in the nursery. On December 18th, a healthy baby girl was born, Diane Marie Disney. Lillian could not have any more children after Diane, so in 1937, the Disneys adopted a baby girl and named her Sharon May. Walt did everything he could to give his daughters a happy home life, and he always had a movie camera in his hand to record family fun. He read to his girls, took them on outings, acted out stories for them, and took them bike riding at the studio. He even built a giant playhouse for them and looked at it, and it looked like it was made for Snow White. As for fancy Hollywood parties, Walt had no interest in them. He liked staying home, eating chili and beans and crackers. Roy and his wife and son lived nearby. The two families saw a lot of each other. And here's a picture of them. Their families hanging out. Walt's parents, however, were still living far away in Portland, Oregon, so Walt and Roy decided to buy a house in California for them. The Disneys could get all together for backyard barbecues. The house was a wonderful gift, meant to bring joy. Instead, it brought terrible sorrow. There was something wrong with the heating system. Suddenly, one day in 1938, Elias and Flora became sick from breathing in poisonous gas that was leaking. Elias recovered, but sadly, Flora died. Walt was so upset for the rest of his life, he refused to talk about his mother's death. All right, so that kind of showed you a little bit of the sad parts of his life. Okay? All right, so we will read chapter 8 tomorrow, which is about Snow White. See you then.